Welcome back to Silverthread Wisdom, everyone. It's always a pleasure to spend this time with you. As we navigate these wonderful years, we often find ourselves reflecting on the journey so far and perhaps wondering what the path ahead holds. Life is a way of showing us its beauty in the small moments, the familiar routines, the connections we've built. But sometimes our bodies, wise as they are, communicate with us in whispers, subtle shifts that can be easily overlooked amidst the comforting rhythm of our days. Have you ever noticed a slight tremor in your hand when you reach for your morning cup of tea? Or perhaps a fleeting moment of dizziness when you stand up a little too quickly? These gentle nudges, these quiet alterations in how we feel and move, can sometimes hold more significance than we initially realize. And that's what I wanted to explore with you today. Because while the passage of time brings its natural evolutions, there are certain changes, seemingly minor on the surface, that truly warrant our thoughtful attention. Dismissing them as simply getting on in years might mean we miss an opportunity to understand what our bodies are trying to tell us. Addressing these subtle signs early can often make a profound difference in our continued health, our cherished independence, and the overall joy we experience each day. This isn't about fostering worry, not in the slightest. It's about cultivating a deeper awareness, becoming more attuned to the unique language of our own bodies, and knowing when a gentle inquiry, a conversation with our trusted healthcare provider, might be the most prudent step. Think of it as becoming the most insightful interpreter of your own well-being, recognizing the nuances in those sometimes quiet signals. So, let's begin with the first subtle change that those of us over 70 should really be mindful of, something that can sometimes be shrugged off as just a bit of stiffness, but can actually be an early indicator of something that deserves our attention. A new or increasing difficulty with fine motor skills. Now, what exactly do I mean by fine motor skills? These are the small, intricate movements we use every day. Things like buttoning our clothes, zipping up a jacket, writing a letter, using cutlery, turning a key in a lock, or even knitting or gardening, those beloved hobbies that bring so much joy. If you've started to notice that these once effortless tasks are now requiring more concentration, more time, or perhaps feeling a little clumsy or less precise, this could be a subtle sign worth noting. Think about our friend Eleanor, who has always been an avid knitter. Lately, she's found it harder to manipulate the needles. Her stitches aren't as even as they used to be, and she occasionally drops stitches. Or consider Arthur, who used to enjoy writing in his journal every morning. Now, his handwriting seems a little shaky, and his fingers feel less nimble when holding the pen. These seemingly small changes in dexterity can sometimes be dismissed as just a part of aging, a natural slowing down. But they can also be early indicators of underlying conditions that affect our nerves and muscles, such as arthritis, carpal tunnel syndrome, or even early stages of neurological changes. The reason why these subtle changes in fine motor skills are important is that they directly impact our independence. Our ability to perform these everyday tasks with ease allows us to maintain our autonomy and continue to engage in the activities we enjoy. When these skills start to decline noticeably, it can lead to frustration, a feeling of dependence, and even a reluctance to participate in hobbies and social activities. The good news is that often, addressing these issues early can make a real difference. Simple exercises to improve hand strength and dexterity, occupational therapy, or even managing underlying conditions like arthritis can help maintain and even improve our fine motor skills. So, pay attention to those little tasks that might be becoming more challenging. If you notice a persistent decline in your dexterity, don't hesitate to mention it to your doctor. It might be a subtle signal that warrants a closer look and some proactive steps to help you maintain your independence and continue enjoying the activities you love. Now that we've considered those delicate movements of our hands, let's turn our attention to another subtle health change that those of us over 70 should be mindful of, something that can sometimes be attributed to just a change in mood, but can actually be a sign of something deeper, a persistent and noticeable decrease in your sense of smell or taste. Our senses of smell and taste are so intricately linked to our enjoyment of life, aren't they? The aroma of a freshly brewed cup of tea, the delicious flavor of a home-cooked meal, These are simple pleasures that often bring us comfort and joy. As we age, it's not uncommon for our senses of smell and taste to gradually diminish somewhat. However, a sudden or significant decrease in your ability to detect odors or to fully taste your food is a subtle change that shouldn't be ignored. Perhaps you've noticed that your favorite flowers no longer have a strong fragrance, or that foods you used to savor now taste bland. Maybe you're adding more and more salt or sugar to your meals just to get some flavor. While a mild decline over many years can be a normal part of aging, a noticeable and persistent drop in these senses can be an early indicator of several underlying health issues. One potential cause is certain medications, which can sometimes affect our sense of taste and smell. Sinus infections or nasal polyps can also temporarily impact our ability to smell. However, a persistent loss or significant decrease in these senses can also be an early sign of more serious neurological conditions, such as Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease. In some cases, it can even be linked to nutritional deficiencies. The reason why these seemingly subtle changes are important is that they can impact our overall health and well-being in several ways. A diminished sense of smell can make it harder to detect potential dangers, like spoiled food or gas leaks. A reduced sense of taste can lead to a decreased appetite and potentially poor nutrition if food becomes less enjoyable. It can also affect our social lives if we lose interest in eating with others. If you've noticed a significant and persistent decrease in your ability to smell or taste, it's important to discuss this with your doctor. They can help determine if it's a side effect of medication, a temporary issue, or if further investigation is needed to rule out any underlying medical conditions. Don't simply accept a significant loss of these senses as just another part of aging. It could be a subtle signal that warrants attention and could potentially provide early clues to other health concerns. So, we've considered the subtle shifts in our fine motor skills and our senses of smell and taste. Now, let's move on to another area that often experiences gradual changes as we age, and where noticing new patterns is key. A persistent and noticeable change in your sleep patterns, beyond just occasional restless nights. We all know the importance of a good night's sleep. It's when our bodies and minds can rest and rejuvenate. As we age, our sleep patterns can naturally evolve. We might find ourselves going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, or experiencing lighter sleep. However, significant and persistent changes in your sleep, such as suddenly having great difficulty falling asleep, waking up frequently throughout the night and struggling to go back to sleep, or feeling excessively tired during the day despite spending what you think is enough time in bed. These are changes that deserve our attention. Think about our friend Margaret, who has always been a sound sleeper. Lately, she finds herself lying awake for hours after going to bed, her mind racing. Or consider David, who used to sleep through the night, but now wakes up several times and feels groggy and unrested all day, even though he's in bed for 8 hours. While an occasional bad night's sleep is normal, a persistent pattern of disrupted sleep can indicate underlying issues. These significant changes in sleep patterns can be linked to a variety of factors that become more common as we age. These can include underlying medical conditions like sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, or chronic pain. Certain medications can also interfere with sleep. Furthermore, changes in our mental health, such as increased anxiety or depression, can significantly impact our ability to sleep well. The reason why these persistent sleep disturbances are important is that quality sleep is crucial for our overall health and well-being. Poor sleep can affect our mood, our memory and concentration, our immune system, and even increase our risk of falls. It can also exacerbate existing health conditions. If you've noticed a significant and persistent change in your sleep patterns, it's important to discuss this with your doctor. They can help identify any underlying medical conditions or lifestyle factors that might be contributing to your sleep problems and recommend appropriate strategies to improve your sleep quality. Don't simply accept persistent, disruptive sleep as an inevitable part of aging. It could be a sign that your body needs some extra support and that addressing it can significantly improve your daily life and overall health. So, we've explored subtle shifts in fine motor skills, our senses of smell and taste, and our sleep patterns. Now, Let's turn our attention to another area where seemingly small changes can hold important clues about our health: new or increasing episodes of dizziness or lightheadedness. Feeling a little dizzy or lightheaded occasionally, especially after standing up quickly, can happen to anyone. However, if you start experiencing frequent or persistent episodes of dizziness, lightheadedness, or a sense that the room is spinning vertigo, this is a subtle change that should not be ignored, particularly as we get older. Imagine our friend Robert, who has always been steady on his feet. Lately, he's been experiencing brief spells of dizziness when he gets out of bed in the morning. Or consider Sarah, who now feels lightheaded and unsteady whenever she bends down to pick something up. These episodes might be fleeting, lasting only a few seconds, and it can be tempting to dismiss them as just a momentary lapse. However, recurrent or persistent dizziness and lightheadedness can be symptoms of underlying medical conditions that need to be investigated. There are several potential causes for these sensations in older adults. These can include problems with the inner ear, which plays a key role in balance, changes in blood pressure, such as orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure upon standing, heart conditions, dehydration, certain medications, and even neurological issues. The reason why these episodes of dizziness and lightheadedness are important is the increased risk of falls they can pose. As we discussed earlier, falls are a significant concern for seniors and can lead to serious injuries and a loss of independence. Identifying and addressing the underlying causes of dizziness and lightheadedness can be crucial in preventing falls and maintaining our safety and mobility. If you've started experiencing new or more frequent episodes of dizziness or lightheadedness, even if they're brief, it's important to discuss these symptoms with your doctor. They can perform a physical examination, check your blood pressure, and conduct other tests to determine the underlying cause. Depending on the diagnosis, there are often effective ways to manage or treat these issues, whether it's adjusting medications, addressing dehydration, or treating an inner ear problem. Don't simply try to live with persistent dizziness. It's a subtle signal that your body needs attention and could be a key factor in preventing a potentially serious fall. So, we've discussed changes in fine motor skills, our senses of smell and taste, sleep patterns, and episodes of dizziness or lightheadedness. Now, for our fifth and final subtle health change that those of us over 70 should never ignore. We've explored some of the quieter ways our bodies communicate with us, through subtle shifts in dexterity, our senses, sleep, and balance. Now, for our fifth and final subtle health change that those of us over 70 should never ignore, and this one can sometimes be easily dismissed as just a bit of indigestion or a change in diet. New or persistent heartburn or changes in bowel habits that are different from what we discussed earlier. Now, we touched on significant and persistent changes in bowel habits earlier in our conversation, focusing on frequency and consistency. But here, I want to highlight more subtle shifts that can also be important to note. This includes things like new and recurring heartburn that doesn't respond to over-the-counter remedies, a persistent feeling of fullness or bloating after eating only a small amount of food, or subtle changes in your bowel movements, such as a change in the color of your stool, becoming very pale or black and tarry, or the presence of mucus. It's easy to attribute occasional heartburn to a spicy meal or a rich dessert, and minor digestive upsets can sometimes seem like just a part of life. However, new and persistent heartburn that occurs frequently, especially if it's accompanied by difficulty swallowing or unexplained weight loss, could be a sign of more serious issues like gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, or in rare cases, even esophageal cancer. Similarly, those subtle changes in bowel habits, the persistent feeling of fullness, changes in stool color, or the presence of mucus, can be indicators of underlying digestive issues that warrant investigation. Think about our friend Eleanor again. She's recently started experiencing heartburn several times a week, even when she hasn't eaten anything particularly rich or spicy. She's been taking antacids, but they only provide temporary relief. Or consider Arthur. He's noticed that he feels full very quickly after starting to eat, and he's also observed a change in the color of his stool. He's been hesitant to mention it, thinking it's just a minor digestive issue. The reason why these seemingly less dramatic digestive changes are important is that our digestive system plays a crucial role in our overall health and well-being. Persistent issues can affect our ability to absorb nutrients, can be uncomfortable and impact our quality of life, and can sometimes be early indicators of more significant underlying conditions that are more treatable when caught early. If you experience new and persistent heartburn that doesn't resolve with simple measures, or if you notice subtle but persistent changes in your digestion or bowel habits that are different from your usual pattern, it's important to bring these to the attention of your doctor. They can ask you more detailed questions about your symptoms, conduct physical examination, and potentially recommend further tests to determine the cause. Don't just try to manage ongoing discomfort or subtle digestive changes on your own. They might be quiet signals from your body that deserve a professional evaluation. So, there we have it. 5 subtle health changes that those of us over 70 should never ignore. New or increasing difficulty with fine motor skills, a persistent decrease in your sense of smell or taste, persistent and noticeable changes in your sleep patterns beyond occasional restless nights, new or increasing episodes of dizziness or lightheadedness, and new or persistent heartburn or subtle changes in bowel habits. Now, I want to emphasize once more that this isn't about creating anxiety or making you hyper-aware of every little twinge. As we journey through these years, our bodies will naturally experience changes. The key is to become a careful observer of your own unique baseline and to recognize when something feels distinctly new, persistent, or significantly different. Being proactive about our health is a sign of strength and self-respect. By tuning into these subtle signals and engaging in open conversations with our healthcare providers, we empower ourselves to address potential issues early, often leading to better outcomes and a greater ability to maintain our vibrant lives. Remember, you are the most knowledgeable expert on your own body, and your observations are invaluable. Small acts of awareness and communication about our health can make a profound difference in our journey towards continued well-being, independence, and the joy of each passing day. I truly hope this conversation has been insightful and has provided you with helpful information. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced any of these subtle changes? And what did you learn from it? What other seemingly minor health shifts have you found to be important to address? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your wisdom and insights can be so beneficial to our entire Silverthread Wisdom community. If you found this video valuable and encouraging, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us to reach more individuals who might benefit from this information. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Silverthread Wisdom. We're here to offer ongoing support, practical guidance, and a touch of inspiration as we all navigate these remarkable years together. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Remember to listen to your body, trust your instincts, and embrace each day with wisdom and grace. Here's to our continued health, happiness, and independence. Until our next conversation, take very good care.